everyone, and welcome to Bible Talks on WBCM Radio. We are the first and the best podcast dedicated to helping young adults, just like you, understand the Bible better.
Absolutely.
And today we are going to be taking a deep dive into Genesis 1.
Yeah, the very beginning.
The grand opening of the whole Bible.
The foundation of everything.
Excited?
Yeah, me too. Genesis 1, it's like we get to explore how everything began. The creation of light and darkness, the formation of the land and sea, and of course the creation of us, humankind.
Okay, so let's jump right in Genesis 1.2. It paints this really vivid picture. Now the earth was formless and empty darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters.
Whoa, it's powerful imagery, right? Like a blank canvas just waiting for a masterpiece.
Totally. And then boom, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. It's so simple, yet so profound.
Right. God speaks and things happen. Like his words have this amazing power to bring things into existence.
It's mind-blowing. And we see this pattern throughout Genesis 1. God speaks and bam, creation unfolds.
It's not just about creating something from nothing, though. It's about establishing order from chaos. Separating light from a darkness sky, from waterland, from sea.
Oh, yeah, bringing structure and purpose to the universe.
Exactly.
I never thought about it like that before.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
This makes me wonder, has anyone listening ever felt like their life was formless and empty, like it says in verse 2? And how did you find order and purpose in the midst of that chaos?
Yeah, think about it.
All right, so moving on to days 4 through 6. This is where things get really interesting. So God creates the sun, moon, and stars, but hold on, light already exists.
Yeah, what's up with that? It's like one of those details that make you go,
Right, so what do you think is going on here?
Well, some scholars believe it points to the fact that God himself is the ultimate source of light.
Okay.
And the sun and moon, they're just reflecting his glory.
Wow, that's a cool perspective.
It kind of like elevates the whole concept of light, you
Yeah.
know? It's not just this physical phenomenon.
Wow, something much bigger. I love that. Okay, so then God creates sea creatures and birds, followed by land animals. It's like watching this incredible explosion of life just unfolding before our eyes.
And that phrase, "and God saw that it was good," it's repeated throughout these verses. It emphasizes God's intentionality behind each stage of creation.
Yeah, like he's taking delight in what he's making.
It's not just functional, it's beautiful.
So why do you think that phrase is repeated so often? What's the significance there?
Well, I think it suggests that God didn't create out of necessity, but out of love.
Oh,
Like a desire to share his goodness.
that's beautiful.
And each element of creation reflects his character and brings him joy.
I love that perspective. Okay, so finally we get to the climax of creation. Humanity made in the image of God and given dominion over the earth.
Big concepts, right?
Huge.
Yeah.
What does it even mean to be made in God's image?
Yeah.
And what kind of responsibility comes with this idea of dominion?
Yeah, those are some really big questions.
And that's actually where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive. We're going to unpack those concepts in more detail. But before we go, I want to hear from you. What are your initial thoughts on being made in God's image?
Yeah, what do you think?
Share your thoughts in the comments below, and be sure to like and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss part 2.
And don't forget, you can also find us on YouTube, where we review Christian music from all different genres.
All different genres.
Yep, the link is in the show notes. We'll see you next time for more Bible Talks on WBCM Radio.
See ya.
Radio WBCM. Radio WBCM.
Welcome back to Bible Talks on WBCM Radio. We're diving back into Genesis 1. And last time we were talking about what it means to be made in the image of God.
Right. Such a profound statement.
Yeah.
But it can be hard to grasp. What exactly makes humans different from all the other creatures God created?
Yeah, what sets us apart? It's not like we physically look like God.
Right. So what is it about us that reflects his image?
Well, if we look at Genesis 1.26, it says, "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness, so that they may rule over the fish in the sea, and the birds in the sky, over the livestock and all the wild animals, and over all the creatures that move along the ground."
Okay, so ruling over creation. But doesn't that sound a bit harsh? Like, are we supposed to be dictators of the planet?
That's where the concept of dominion can get a little tricky. You see, the Hebrew word for rule can also be translated as stewardship or caretaking.
Oh, so it's not about dominating creation, but more about taking responsibility for it.
Exactly. It's like God's entrusting us with the care of his masterpiece. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
He's giving us the ability to understand and appreciate his creation and the responsibility to protect and preserve it.
That makes a lot more sense. But if we're supposed to be caring for creation, are we doing a good job? I mean, look at all the environmental problems we have.
That's a good point. And sadly, throughout history, humans have often fallen short of our calling as stewards of creation. We've exploited natural resources, we've polluted the environment, and caused harm to so many species.
Yeah, it's like we've forgotten that we're a part of creation, not separate from it.
I think you're right. We've become disconnected from the natural world, and we've lost sight of our responsibility to care for it.
So what can we do to be better stewards?
Yeah.
What does that look like practically?
Well, I think it starts with recognizing the value and goodness of all creation. Not just for our benefit, but for its own sake.
Yeah.
We need to remember that we're not just masters of creation, but caretakers.
Right, we're called to cultivate, not just consume.
Exactly. But what about this being made in God's image thing? How does that play into our role as stewards?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Well, think about it. If we believe that we're made in God's image, it means we reflect some of his attributes.
Okay.
And what are some of those attributes? Love, compassion, creativity, wisdom, justice.
So as image bearers, we're called to bring those qualities to our interactions with creation,
Oh.
to act with love, wisdom, and justice in how we use resources, treat animals, and care for the environment.
Exactly. It goes beyond just environmentalism. If we're reflecting God's image, it should impact all areas of our lives.
Wow.
How we treat each other, how we conduct business, how we seek justice in the world.
That's a lot to think about. It's like this whole idea of being made in God's image comes with a huge responsibility.
It does, but it's also incredibly empowering.
Okay.
Think about it. We have this incredible privilege to partner with God in caring for his creation, to bring his love and goodness into the world.
That is an amazing calling. So if we're made in God's image and given dominion over creation, does that mean we have a special role to play in God's plan?
That's a question we'll explore more in the next part of our deep dive. But before we wrap up, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this idea of dominion as stewardship? What challenges do you see in living out this calling in our modern world?
Yes. Definitely jump into the comments and let us know. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for the final part of our deep dive into Genesis 1.
We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors.
Radio WBCM. Radio WBCM.
And we are back for the final part of our deep dive into Genesis 1 here on Bible Talks on WBCM Radio. We've been talking about being made in God's image and having dominion over creation.
Yeah, lots to think about.
Really is, and I'm still kind of wrestling with this whole dominion thing. Does it mean we're in charge of creation, or are we more like partners with God, or is it something else entirely?
It's a tough one. It's a question that's been debated for centuries.
Yeah.
There are lots of different perspectives on it. But I think one way we can understand it is through this idea of co-creation.
Co-creation? Okay, what do you mean by that?
Well, think about it this way. God created the world, but he also gave us humans the capacity to shape and influence it.
Oh, okay.
So we're not just passive observers.
Yeah.
We're active participants in the ongoing story of creation.
So we're kind of like entrusted with this responsibility to work with God in bringing his creation to its fullest potential.
Exactly. And that's where our unique gifts and abilities come in.
Yeah.
God has given each of us different talents and passions, and he wants us to use them, to cultivate beauty, to restore brokenness, to promote flourishing in the world.
I like that. That's pretty
Yeah.
empowering. It's like we're not just tiny specks in this vast universe. We actually have the power to make a difference.
We absolutely do. And it all goes back to this idea of being made in God's image.
Right.
If we reflect some of his attributes, it means we have the potential to be creative, compassionate, just, and wise in our actions.
Oh, I see how it all connects.
Mhm.
We're made in God's image, given dominion as co-creators, and called to use our gifts to bring about God's purposes in the world. It's a pretty big deal.
It is. And it's a calling that's open to everyone, no matter your background, your talents, or your circumstances.
That's encouraging. So how do we actually live this out? I mean, it's easy to get overwhelmed by the big picture, but what can we do day to day?
That's the exciting part. Co-creation isn't just about these grand gestures, it's about the choices we make every single day.
Okay.
It's how we treat the people around us, how we use our resources, how we engage with our communities.
So it could be something as simple as choosing to recycle or volunteering or speaking up against injustice.
Absolutely. Every act of love, kindness, creativity, justice, it's all a way of participating in God's work of creation. We're all co-creators in our own unique ways.
Wow, I love that. It makes me feel like even small actions can make a difference.
They really can. And when we start seeing our lives through this lens of co-creation, it changes everything. Our work has meaning, our relationships have purpose, and our choices have significance.
This has been an incredible journey through Genesis 1. We've talked about creation order and chaos being made in God's image dominion as stewardship and co-creation. It's a lot to take in.
Definitely a lot to unpack, but hopefully it's given you a deeper appreciation for this amazing chapter of the Bible.
It really has. What are your final takeaways for our listeners? What do you hope they'll remember from our deep dive?
I hope they remember that they're not accidents. They are beloved children of God, created in His image, and called to partner with Him in making the world a better place.
That's beautiful. And remember, if you want to hear more deep dives into the Bible, be sure to subscribe to our channel.
And don't forget, you can find us on YouTube, too. We're at https://www.youtube.com at Radio WBCM. We review Christian music from all different genres.
All kinds of Christian music.
Yep, come check it out.
Thanks for joining us on this amazing journey through Genesis 1. This has been Bible Talks on WBCM Radio, your go-to podcast for unpacking the scriptures.
See you next time.
Radio